So I just want to kind of start to bring it back over the next 10, 15 minutes or so to now and to the kind of enterprise opportunities that there may be. So when we look at the fastest growing sectors in the UK, accounting and finance, construction and engineering, marketing and advertising, IT technology, I'm sure that that list doesn't surprise anyone. It's absolutely quite extraordinary, the amount of IT and technology-related investment that's coming into the UK right now. When I first put this together, I think it was probably 6 months ago, and since 2011, there's been greater investment in IT and technology into the UK than France and Germany combined. More recently, there's been no other country in the world that's had more inward investment in IT and technology. Now, if you think about the current political climate, that's really quite interesting, isn't it? But it does say, you know, there's a degree of expertise around these service-based industries that we have in the UK, and maybe that's where the growth opportunities are in the future, in the near future. And I'm going to tell you something about the next 3 slides in a minute, but you can decide whether they resonate with you. So I think typically when professional services businesses talk to clients, these are some of the things that typically we talk about. And we've already spoken about some of them, the millennial market, for example. But typically about data security, that's a really big one, obviously, at the moment. We've spoken a bit this evening about the automation of work, the way that we change resourcing. I find it extraordinary that the number of companies don't realize they have a global resource and talent pool available to them, no matter how small their organization is. So those seem to me to be some of the trends that are impacting on professional services. I think client expectations are really evolving rapidly. What do they want? Well, they want it now. But they want solutions. You know, they don't want ongoing questions. They want interaction. They want competitive insights. They want support, help, advice that allows them to move forward. Increasingly, they want someone that understands technology, that understands what it's capable of, that's digitally literate. They want this kind of a holistic coach, someone that can draw all these different threads together and help them think about their business and where it sits in their marketplace. A kind of a one-stop shop experience. They also want some idea that you have a degree of specialization, and to some extent this can be about industry and verticals. It could be the kind of solution-based advisory services. It could be that they're looking for outcome-based fees, because we're seeing a significant change in the way that clients expect to pay for the services. And I think increasingly they expect differentiation between those real value-add services and something that's commoditized. And I think increasingly within professional services, we're seeing the likes of AI able to create commoditized services, data analytics, and so on. Those 3 slides I thought were really interesting as a way to think about how the professional services landscape is actually changing. And does it apply to you guys? Because it applies to accountants as well, because that's what I originally prepared those 3 for. And it also applies to legal. So whenever we have professional services and wherever professional services are interacting with clients, clients are all saying the same kind of thing. We're starting to see the same kind of issues come up again and again around professional services. And part of it, I think, is that we're also starting to struggle with, so given all this automation, how does that change what we do? How do we continue to deliver value to our client base? Because that's going to change if they're going to be subject to the same kind of changes that we've been speaking about so far this evening. A selection of tasks and activities that you might typically engage with when you're working with a client. It's quite interesting when you start to think which ones of those could be automated. Because I think it's most, but I think there are a couple of standout ones like engagement and collaboration that actually say that's the real value, that's the real difference that I can make. That's what I need to focus on, because this other stuff anyone can do, because they've probably got the same kind of kit that I have. So what is the element that I have that I can bring to a client that differentiates me from competitors? And I think that this is where I see the coming together of these leadership and consulting skills. I'm a big fan of Peter Block's book, the kind of Consulting and Authenticity. Some really good stuff in there. And I think it could do with updating when we start to think about some of these things. So we need to be really good at learning really fast. We need to be curious. We need to be self-aware about the things that we're saying and how we're coming across with our clients. We need to be really good at self-management, and we need to think about the emotional impact of the things that we're saying on the people in client organizations as well as our own. We need to exhibit foresight and ensure that we use contextual sense-making, which is what I've tried to do this evening. We need to be increasingly tolerant of uncertainty. It's really weird, isn't it, the way that we work in grown-up organizations and all our processes are geared around making people comfortable with things and pretending that things are going to be okay and smooth and it won't change, when actually all the signals are pointing the other direction, and it will. So tolerance of uncertainty, really good at problem solving. This is the kind of thing that we teach kids at kindergarten. Scenario thinking, taking a systems perspective and design thinking, because we need to build mindsets and capability to imagine and experiment our way to the future. And there are a number of kind of key questions, I think, that I would pose, and you'll recognize these, I'm sure, from some of the things that I've said. So what value are customers or consumers seeking now? How might that change into the future? So we need to understand what the gap is between now and the future. What are the technological solutions that could support our value proposition? And how could our people inside our organizations differentiate us from the competition? Because if we're going to be fully automated, then that's what we have left. And how do these insights, therefore, challenge our existing business model, our existing practices, and what are we going to choose to do about it?